Hey everyone, welcome to another Plotty Time Minisode. This week, you just get me, and I am going to be talking about the next generation of consoles because Sony has just released their information about when it's coming out and how much it's going to cost. So, this is what we're looking at. We got Xbox coming out with two different consoles. The Xbox Series X, which is retailing at $499, and the Xbox Series S, as in Sam, which is retailing at a wildly low $299. So the difference between these two is the hard drive. There's a couple detailed GPU, CPU specs. I think CPU is pretty close to the same. GPU is the one that's different. But other than that, I'm not going to get into specs that much because I don't give a shit and you can look it up. And the only other real big difference with the Series S is the fact that it has a 512 gig hard drive instead of a terabyte. So that's probably how they shaved off a couple bucks from that. So, on the PlayStation side, you've got the digital-only version, which is going to retail at $399, and then you've got the disc-based version, which is coming in at $499. There is no difference in CPU, GPU, internals, guts, other than the fact that one is a Blu-ray drive and one doesn't. So if this is a head-to-head, I don't really want to get into specs too much, but let's talk about price. Also, to note, the Xbox will be out November 10th. The PlayStation will be out November 12th. So, let's put these head-to-head with all the specs we know so far. So, just based on this, who do we think would win? Xbox wins the price run. They're coming in with a console at $299. However, the thing I'm concerned about, the thing that I think may possibly come back and bite them in the ass, is the fact that it has less CPU, barely less CPU than the Xbox Series X. The Xbox Series S also had the smaller hard drive, which is definitely going to be a factor. And then there's also a matter of GPUs, which are lower on the Xbox Series S. Now, there's a fact that this could mean absolutely nothing, and you could roll the Xbox Series S all the way through the entire lifetime of the console, and it's not going to matter. Or there's going to be issues. The issue off the bat is the hard drive. If you can't replace it or put a USB one on, you're already screwed because 512 isn't enough for a PlayStation or Xbox right now for the PS4 or whatever Xbox One. So that's a problem. The other issue that may come up, and I'm speculating, I don't know, but maybe when we get to the middle or end of the cycle of this console, the Xbox Series X won't have the processing power to handle the games that are being released. That's a big if. That's a risk you're taking buying the one for $299. It's possible that future games with, a lot of data, a lot of specs won't even fit on there, even possibly, which I know sounds absolutely crazy now, but I guarantee by the time this console generation ends, there'll be a 500 gig game. Absolutely. I am 100% guaranteeing that right now. The only other, because look at Call of Duty Modern Warfare right now is 180 gigs. That's this generation. And I don't know why, but I'm not going to bitch about that. I already did that. So definitely a new hard drive is going to take. You're going to have to replace it immediately off the bat. So what are you gaining? Maybe if you have an external USB around, you could use that. Hopefully they'll support that. I didn't look that up. I'm not going to, so I don't care that much. But if not, you got to think maybe it's worth investing for the $499. Now, PlayStation, like I said, both those consoles exactly the same, except for the addition of a disc drive. So, yeah, you're saving $100 with the digital only. I personally am going to go with the disc base because I prefer having discs. I like collecting them. I like having them on the shelf. I realize that's not the way the industry's going. Eventually, it'll be all digital, and that's great. But I don't know, man. Something about the discs. I just love having that backup copy. A lot of these games, not a lot, but there's definitely games that I have on disc that I couldn't even play if I didn't have the internet. So, times are weird. A lot of people I've talked to and discussed this with are going digital only because they've mostly moved to just digital. I think a lot of that has to do with the age range I'm talking to, which is a little bit on the older side. And by older for gamers, I mean 30s. They don't play as many games. They don't have as much time. And, so the game count will be far less. And we are adults that have real jobs that can afford the games. So the fact of handing it to someone else and having them play it is much less. So, there's give and take with digital only. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. So who wins this? I think that Xbox is going to stay alive in the marketplace for a lot longer because they dropped this price so hard. I really do. I think that's I really do. I think that for a lot of people, it's going to come down to what does this cost? And that's just how it is. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to go with the cheapest one, I mean, you got to think about it too. I can never blame anyone. If I saw these 4 options and I only, I had limited income, then yeah, I'd go for I could see myself going for the $299 Xbox. Most of the games I want to play are cross anyway. Maybe in the future I'll have a little bit more money in my pocket. Eventually I can get a PlayStation for all the sweet exclusives. But none of them are going to be out for over a year anyway, so who fucking cares? Times are tough right now. A lot of people out of work. A lot of people scaled back hours. A lot of people not paying rent. So I don't think it's a bad idea to throw in a console for $299 at all. I mean, you got to think, even if PlayStation is at $399, the digital version. So if you get the $299 Xbox, you get another controller for your little brother, little sister, big brother, mom, dad, whatever. You get a second controller, and you can get a game, and you still probably wouldn't be at $399. Maybe with tax, but, it'd be close. Either way, you got a game to play, controllers, that'll tide you over. You can get enough money to buy another game. So it's definitely encouraging. I think a lot of parents are going to see it, and they're going to buy that one for their kids instead of the Xbox Series X. I think it's going to sell well. I don't think by the time this console generation is over, I mean, it's going to be PlayStation, obviously, unless they fuck something up terribly. But the other interesting thing, too, about the Xbox is that they do payment plans through Microsoft. You can get financing. If you want to buy a Series S, you can buy it for $25 a month, which payment plan runs for 2 years, and that includes the Game Pass Ultimate and the Xbox Live. So you'll be able to play online and have Game Pass and access to all that stuff. The Xbox Series X is $35 over 2 years. So through the magic of editing, I just looked up those math numbers, and it looks like through the term, Xbox Series X is going to be a total price tag of $840. So you're paying $500 for the system and an additional $340. The $340, let's say each of those services, Xbox Live and Xbox Game Pass, both cost, I don't know how much they cost. Let's say they both cost $60 a month. That's still too much money. That's $740, not $840. So you're definitely throwing more to fucking Microsoft with these financing plans. But if you have no other option, you got to have one. Options there. So I guess thanks for that. I mean, they could have maybe picked a nicer rate for there, but there's also going to be people who do this and then disappear and never fucking pay that back. So risk reward, right? Now, let's talk a little bit about this PlayStation event that happened. Some things that really impressed me. They did a lot of the games. They talked about Final Fantasy 16. They talked about the Miles Morales Spider-Man game, which looks great, but the enemy's the Tinkerer, and I don't know who that is or why it matters, but the Spider-Man villains have always been like kind of whack, just in general. That's okay, though. It's a video game. It's a silly world. Let's have fun with it. There's also talk about the new Harry Potter game, which, considering your feelings on the transphobic crazy shit she's been popping off on Twitter lately, you might want to reconsider buying that, but, I'm sure she had nothing to do with it. Hopefully she didn't. She actually did just write a book that was about how, like, a trans person killed a cisgender person. Like, her views are so fucking crazy, she had to make up fiction that justified the views, which is... It's a sad lady, sad old views. Hopefully she has nothing to do with Harry Potter anymore. People really like it. Be ashamed to ruin it. So then, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, they played a little bit of gameplay. It looks fucking brutal. It looks like... Not brutal bad. It looks like violent. And considering the taste that people have... I think they took a lot of stuff from, like, John Wick, because there was a lot of, like, grab, stab, shoot in the face type stuff, which I'm still going to play it. I shouldn't act like I'm better than that. I'm still going to play it. The thing that really impressed me was the game Deathloop, which, from what I understand, you have 24 hours to kill 8 targets, and you keep reliving the same loop until you can pull it off, which I think... I'm very excited for games that are fun to play. It looks very fun. It looks colorful. It looks like there's definitely a style to it. It's got that kind of silly Team Fortress 2 type vibe, and maybe it's nothing like that. I don't know. I shouldn't throw that game out there, but it looks fun. It looks interesting. It looks like a new gimmick. I definitely want to give it a shot. And there's a couple other games announced. Resident Evil 8, The Village, which we already knew about. We already saw some gameplay. Although the trailer we saw made it look like some medieval, like Grimm's fairy tale retelling of this whole thing, which is an interesting take. I didn't even know it was Resident Evil Village until I started looking at it and paying attention. I was like kind of half doing other stuff. So, also, PlayStation has come out and said there was a PlayStation Plus announcement. They call it the PlayStation Plus Collection, where there's going to be a lot of good PlayStation 4 games available day one on PlayStation 5. For example, God of War, The Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4. There's a lot of them. They named like The Last Guardian, a group of them, which I think is cool, and I think that's great, and it's definitely their version of the Xbox Game Pass, but it's not really a selling point for me. I mean, I am a subscriber to PlayStation Now. I love PlayStation Now. I love being able to download the games and play them. I love the collection, games that slip through my hands I can grab and check out. It's been really helpful for this podcast, being able to grab games and research them like that. But, I mean, I don't think this is that big of a selling point. All these games I've either played or don't care about. Now, I realize that's not the same situation everyone else is in, but to me, it's not a selling point. But then again, I'm the person that's going to pre-order the second I'm able to and get an extra controller, every single peripheral, all of it. So, whatever. Apparently, this service, too, is going to be available to all current PlayStation Plus subscribers. So, I don't think it even has to do with PlayStation Now. Maybe it does. I don't know. Maybe we'll get some clarification. But they did also mention the Demon's Souls remake is going to be a PlayStation 5 launch game, which is pretty cool. Bad news is it's going to cost $70, which is kind of fucking stupid. But, I mean, we're going to have to start paying more for games. That's just how life is. And that's about it from the PlayStation event. Like I said, November 12th. Pre-orders are underway right now. At the time of this recording, they're not yet, but they will be tomorrow. Hopefully that goes smoothly and isn't a huge debacle. There was a rumor going around that PlayStation cut back their order on Millions because the CPUs wouldn't be ready, and then PlayStation came out the next day almost immediately saying, that's bullshit, we didn't cut back our order, blah, who knows who's right. It could mean there's a limited number of pre-orders available, which would make sense considering, I mean, COVID happened. Let's not pretend it's not currently happening, and production got screwed for a while. So that is going to be an issue. It's probably going to be a tight window, even with perfect conditions. If the fact that they have a couple million fewer and they don't get caught up till next spring, I don't think a lot of people will matter, because this happens at the beginning of every console generation, and it keeps happening more and more the newer consoles get, but people are still playing a lot of the existing console. And if they're like me, they have a backlog of games. Like, for example, I'm excited for this. I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to get it less than 2 months from now. I'm going to play games on it. But at the same time, if they would have came out and said, hey, we're pushing this back till next spring, I don't care. I have so many games to play currently, which is a very easy thing for me to say on this side of the fence, because I remember when PlayStation 4 came out, I fired it up, I started installing stuff, I set it up, whatever, and I noticed immediately how much faster and how much more intuitive the menu was. And then going back and playing PlayStation 3 with their cross-media bar, loading took forever. And loading the store took forever. Like, these are things you lived with. You didn't realize how much better it was until you got the new stuff. So maybe they could have used that to their advantage. I don't know. So who do I think is going to win? Obviously, it's PlayStation. Obviously. I am a PlayStation fanboy. I do prefer to play PlayStation. I have every Xbox console up until 1. and I've played it and enjoyed it. And I think this competition is ultimately a good thing because it forces these companies to put their consoles at this price point. Like, what if there was no PlayStation and there was only Microsoft's Xbox and they were the only game in town against PC, that thing would have been like $800 at launch. And they'd be like, well, what else are you going to do? And that's just how it is. So ultimately, that's a good thing. I just, get out there and game. I don't give a shit if you play on PlayStation or Xbox, whatever. Just have fun. So overall, I'm excited for the next generation. I think there's been some interesting developments, but what really matters to me, as I was watching the PlayStation event, I was looking at these games, looking at what they're doing, and a lot of it just looked like PlayStation 4 with better graphics. I mean, sorry, but that's what I saw in the gameplay trailers. I'm not saying that's not really pretty, but what's really going to move units, what's really going to impress people is a game that comes out and fully takes advantage of all this additional processing power, memory, and such. Like, the only game I saw that maybe could do that right now is the Ratchet and Clank game, where you just opened up to brand new worlds and could immediately go to them. That looked fucking crazy, but, maybe I'll end up eating these words. Maybe they'll really blow me away. I don't expect any game that is cross-platform to do that, but who knows? Maybe it will. I don't know. I hope it does. I hope they all do. The other thing is, what are people going to do with this technology in the future? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of stuff are they going to give us towards the end of the console generation? Like, the big AAA game that really impressed and looked great for this generation was obviously The Last of Us 2. That was a later gen game, looked amazing, played amazing, very smooth. Load times were decent. What's going to be... That's where we've gotten to through the generation of PlayStation 4, which is very impressive. But what is that final game section going to look like down the road? Does it mean a game's going to be longer? Does it mean a game's going to look better? Is it going to have new mechanics? Are we going to hit some kind of renaissance in gaming where a whole other aspect of the world happens? I don't know. But maybe finally they'll have enough processing power to make a decent Fallout game. Boom! Oh, God, I'm fucking nailing it. The other thing I want to talk about, though, real quick, is... But I mean, I'm already decided. I'm buying the PlayStation 5. I'm pre-ordering it. I'm buying the disc version. But there's a lot of people out there who I think are on the fence whether they want to pick up a... This is a thing, too. I think after Xbox came out last generation, a lot of people were unhappy with it. They didn't see a bunch of games, and then they just gave up, and they went and moved to PlayStation. I know several people who have. I mean, who the fuck am I? But if it's anything like what I saw, there's plenty of people who came over. Like I said, I'm a PlayStation fanboy, but I really don't care what you do. So please don't blow me up and say Xbox is way better and this is why. I don't care. The thing I'm getting to, the point I'm getting at is this new price point I don't think it's going to win back anyone who's came from PlayStation. I think it's going to help people get the console in their hands faster, but I don't think you're going to get new numbers, and you're not going to do that till you give people a reason to buy it, and the reason to buy these is the games. PlayStation's clearly way ahead. So, final thoughts. It's going to be an interesting couple of months. I'm very interested to see if PlayStation and Xbox can keep up with the demand. Maybe one of them will get lucky and the other runs out of pre-orders and people start picking up the models that maybe wouldn't sell as well. Maybe these things might show up on launch day and be DOA and overheat and blow up. A lot of stuff can happen, especially when you're rushing manufacturing. So that'll be interesting to see. I'm excited. I'm excited for the next generation. I'm excited to play in the PlayStation 5. I want to hear what you people think. Tell me, are you excited for the console generation? Do you not care? Are you just a PC gamer and you're like, this is adorable to watch? Whatever. Come talk to us. Send us an email on Gmail. plottytime@gmail.com. Jumpslap will personally read every single one of those. You could also get to us on the socials at plottytime on Instagram and Twitter. And also a small bit of news. We are now available on Amazon Music. So Amazon Music just launched today, September 16th. By the time you're listening to this, we'll have been on for 5 days. You can reach us there. Maybe you can tell your friends who are like, well, I would listen to it, but I don't have a Spotify thing. Well, now you can get it on Amazon Music if they're a Prime subscriber. And I don't know anyone who is not subscribed to at least Spotify or Amazon Prime. There's no one like that exists. I'll say it right now. I'm 100% certain of it. So that's it for us today. Get out there, play some games, get excited for the next generation, and we'll talk to you next time. Later.